How's it going? Today, I'm talking about how to be consistent with training for Run Disney races.
This is Running to the Castle, a podcast for injury-prone Run Disney runners on a journey to running magical miles. Join me, Dr. Allie, as I share the secrets I've gathered as a runner, doctor of physical therapy, and coach. You'll learn the exact ways I get my clients to the castle strong without feeling broken or held together with KT tape as they cross the finish line.
So I get this question, comment, especially in my free Facebook group all of the time. So I do ask, what can I support you with, or what can we as a group support you with? And the top answer is consistency and motivation. So today I am going to talk about how to be consistent with your training. So it's super important, right? Because, you know this. It's super important because if you aren't consistent, how are you going to show up on race day feeling confident and ready that you're going to cross the finish line? And it's really hard to stay consistent because for Run Disney races, because for other races, they don't sell out as fast. Now, of course, there are going to be some that sell out as fast or close to as fast as Run Disney races, but you're purchasing your race bib like 9 months in advance. That's a long time. There are other races where you can literally show up day of and get a race bib. So you could train for the race and be like, yeah, I feel well trained. I feel confident. I'm going to show up and get a bib. So that kind of is reverse where it's like, well, I just won't get the bib if I didn't train for it, right? And I ran into this years ago when I was running what did I do? My very first half marathon was in Jamestown, Rhode Island. And I don't exactly remember. It was 13, 14 years ago at this point, but I don't think I signed up for the race and then trained for it. I think I was running consistently, and then Royal was like, why don't we just sign up for a race? We're doing all the training anyway. So we did. And then I did that one. That was in July of 2013. And then I learned that there was going to be a rock and roll marathon, half marathon production in Providence in September. It was actually on my birthday that year. And so I was like, well, I've already trained for the 13.1 miles. It's only another 2 months. Let's see how training goes. And then I signed up for it. I remember I invited a friend, Cassie, to join me because she was living in the area. She liked working out just as much as I did. She was going to be in Providence or lived in Providence. I forget at the time. She's moved around a lot. And so I remember asking her like 4 or 5 weeks before the half marathon. I was like, do you want to do this with me? And she said, yeah, sure. And so she did. So we did. And she could buy that bib at least 4 weeks in advance. I don't even know. Maybe she signed up 2 weeks in advance. I don't remember the details. It's been a long time. A lot has changed since that time. So that information has just gone right outside my brain. But you can't do that for Run Disney races now. The race sells out in like an hour. So you have to be planning 8 to 9 months in advance that you're going to do the race. Now, of course, I'm not talking getting charity bib. Of course, you may be able to get a charity bib later. I even saw some people got charity bibs like 2 weeks before marathon weekend. I don't know how they did it, but they did. So, of course, there are going to be little nuances with that, but I'm talking about like signing up for the race, not doing it through a charity, and having to plan 8 to 9 months or more in advance because, all of the race weekends, the registration is at different dates. I didn't do the exact math, but I do know that Wine and Dine happens in October and registration is in February. So that's, 8 months in advance, right? If I did my math wrong, please don't at me. That was just off the top of my head, 10 minus 2, 8, but the actual weeks in there does not matter to me. So we're talking you need to be consistent because the training for the actual race in this particular case won't happen for another like 2 months after you sign up. So let's talk about Wine and Dine Half Marathon and Wine and Dine Challenge as an example. Because I was just looking at these dates yesterday as I'm programming out for my new Stronger, Faster Finisher clients. If that's you, welcome. There are 31 of you this round. I am so excited. I love the community and love where we are going. We are slow back the pack runners in a group together, and it is so much fun being in it with so many other like-minded people. So welcome to the group. I am programming out for everybody, and so I've been looking at these dates a lot. We have a lot of marathon runners, dopey runners, and wine and dine runners. Those are the ones that are just sticking in my head right now. Of course, we have Princess and Springtime Surprise and other distances over marathon weekend, but those are the ones that have been in the back of my mind because those are just the ones that I saw most recently as I'm recording this. So let's talk wine and dine and half marathon and challenge, right? Registration, general registration for that is going to be February 10th, 2026. The race weekend is October 22nd through the 25th, 2026. That's a long time. And my training plan starts June 15th for those two races. So whether you download my free training plan from my website or I program it out for you in Stronger, Faster Finisher, the date that you're starting to officially train is June 16th. Now, remember, I do recommend that a successful running journey has 5 phases. So we have the train phase, the taper phase, race phase, rest and recovery phase, and build phase. So the train phase is where you are officially locked in, loaded, ready, and starting the official training. And for anything higher than a 5K distance in my training plans starts at a 5K distance. So if you aren't at a 5K distance, you're going to start training on that first before you even get into the half marathon and challenge distances. But for the sake of this conversation, let's say that you can run at least a 5K distance without pain. It does not matter if you use run walk or run straight through. The point is you can go that distance without pain. You're not injured. And you can traverse that amount of distance. I don't care how long it takes you. The key is without pain and physical ability, being able to do it. So half marathon and challenge for Wine and Dine starts June 15th. Race weekend is not until October 22nd. That is a long time. And you are signing up February 10th. So February to March, March to April, April to May, May to June. We're talking 4 months before you even get started on the official training. Heck, you could train for a whole half marathon before you train for that half marathon when you sign up for it. And so sometimes that's what people will do. They'll be like, okay, well, I'm signed up for this. I'm going to start training now so that I can be consistent. I love the enthusiasm. Absolutely love it. The problem with doing that is you burn out, you exhaust yourself, you burn out, or you get injured. And then you just don't want to do it anymore. So the first question is, how can I structure this training so I want to keep doing this? How can I structure this training to be able to do this day after day, month after month, and hopefully year after year? How can I do that? If you are going from 0, you should not go all the way up to running 7 days a week. That is not sustainable. You are going to burn out, and then you're going to be upset with yourself that you weren't consistent. You do really well for, let's say, 2 weeks, running every day, 7 days a week for 2 weeks, and then something happens. Little Johnny needs to be dropped off at the dentist, and that's during your running time. Or the dog needs to go to the groomer, or the dog threw up and needs to go to the vet. And then one day you don't run. And then the next day, whatever you were supposed to do in your normal life, the day before when you took little Pluto to the vet, well, now whatever you were supposed to do that day is going to happen on Tuesday. And then whatever's supposed to happen on Tuesday is happening on Wednesday. And it's just this cascade of events. And it looks like life is just getting so lifey, right? Like all of this stuff is just adding up. One of the underlying conditions with that is you tried to do too much too soon. And then it's one thing after another just doesn't happen. And I know it does look like life getting lifey. Now, of course, some situations, life absolutely got lifey. But when you go from 0 to 7 days a week of training, that is partly eating away at your time. And then it just has this cascade. Not great at explaining it, but it's a pattern I see. And I actually just started listening to Atomic Habits. It's a great book. I like listening to books because I can listen on the treadmill. I can listen when I'm walking Levi. I can listen when I'm doing all of the laundry that never seems to end. I don't understand it. I mean, we aren't buying more clothes, but I just feel like as soon as one load of laundry has gone in and gone to the dryer or hung up to dry, because we do hang a lot of our clothes to dry, it's like somebody snapped and more clothes are in the bin. Now, I do know some of that is Royal will try on a pair of pants or a shirt and be like, no, I don't actually want to wear this, and puts it in the laundry bin. I've been with this man for 13 years. I cannot change that. So I do know that that is a factor. It has gotten less though, so that's wonderful. But anyway, laundry aside. So with consistency and listening to Atomic Habits, now I'm not even halfway through with this yet, but it's so interesting to hear somebody else say this because I know that building habits needs to be done slowly to make them actually stick. Right? Like we have all of these 75 hard or 21-day fix or gosh, I don't even know all the names of the other ones. And I love the enthusiasm and I love the concept. Those will work for like 21 days or 75 days, maybe. I don't know very many people who have finished 75 hard. I just don't. And maybe they just don't share it with me. I don't know. Maybe I just don't know a ton of people who actually do it. But what I have found for me personally, which then I help my clients do, is when we make small changes as opposed to everything all at once, it's much more sustainable. And so then you can be consistent with it. So the biggest thing is going to be habit change. And Atomic Habits talks about how to actually change habits. One of them being match up something you want to do or like to do with something you feel you need to do. So I do this where I save my favorite liquid or one of my favorite liquid IV flavors and scratch flavors. It's the strawberry lemonade. I save those for my workouts. They only get drink. I only drink them when I'm on specifically a long run. So then it's a little treat to look forward to. I also do the same thing with my Nerds Gummy clusters. I only eat them when I'm on a workout. So I will eat those on shorter workouts and the long workouts. And then if I'm going to be on the treadmill, I save a TV show. So I have a long backlog of Grey's Anatomy because I save it for when I'm on the treadmill. So find a habit that you can match up if you're finding you're not going to the gym or you're not working out as much as you can. I highly recommend Atomic Habits. Again, haven't finished it completely yet, but it has a lot of good information. One of them, which really stuck out in my mind because it makes complete sense, is people will say, okay, well, I'll go to the gym on my way home from work. But if your gym isn't actually on the way home from work and you actually have to make more turns and go different ways and you don't literally pass it on the way home, but you have to do extra turns, it's going to become harder to make that one a habit. Just makes complete sense because, we're on autopilot driving home, right? We're not on autopilot driving to the gym yet. But if we're on autopilot driving home and we pass Planet Fitness or Lifetime Fitness or LVAC, which is our local chain gym here, Las Vegas Athletic Club, if you see it as you drive by, you're like, oh, I gotta go. That's what I'm doing, right? Like I line up my workouts after I walk Levi. I have to walk Levi every day. So I change into my workout clothes, walk Levi, and then it's straight to the workout, whether it be on the treadmill, doing my weights, or going outside for a run. Now, of course, it's winter right now. And yes, it's winter in Las Vegas, but I'm not running outside. I don't even want to walk Levi outside, but I'm not letting him poop in the garage. I am a big old wimp when it comes to cold. I actually saw a reel yesterday or this morning that said, if the temperature outside is younger than me, don't invite me. And I reshared that, but also I wanted to post, well, until it's like 50, don't invite me. So I'm not 40 yet. I will be 39 this year. And the temperature was 40 today. And I was like, this is miserable to me. So, in case you ever wondered what kind of temperature I will run in or walk in willingly, that ain't it. I am a wimp. I own it. I grew up in New England, Massachusetts, lived in Rhode Island for a while, went to college and grad school in upstate New York, Ithaca, and Rochester. I know cold weather. I know snow. I know ice. I live in Las Vegas now for a reason. Been here 10 years. Thank God I made that move because the majority of the time it's very nice out. But I do wear my down coat. I do wear fleece lined leggings. I do wear a thermal long sleeve, like cold gear, plus a sweatshirt, plus, a headband or a hat, mittens. Like I look like I'm going for a trek in sub-zero degree weather and it is 40 degrees. I'm a wimp. I know it. So I'm on the treadmill, but I'm also on the treadmill in 120-degree heat in the summer. So one of the ways to be consistent is put that workout associated with something else that you have to do. So I have to walk Levi every day. He's almost 12. He'll go to the bathroom in the backyard if he absolutely has to, but he would much rather have a walk. And honestly, I'd much rather give him a walk. He deserves it. Everybody says, oh, you spoil him. No, I give him I'm losing my train of thought. He is compensated adequately for the love that he gives. And we did have a health scare with him in 2022. We had somebody scheduled to come to the house to say goodbye to him. And I'm going to try and tell the story without crying, but that's not a guarantee. It was a real health scare. He couldn't stop fainting. He couldn't stay awake. And it started happening on a Wednesday. And on Saturday, we had the person scheduled to come to the house. We went to the vet again Friday night. And we decided, you know what? I'm going to start crying. Whew. If he makes it through the weekend, let's give him the weekend. If he makes it through the weekend, we know we can do this. And he did. And now he is almost 12 years old. He will be 12 on January 24th. And we took the time and the patience to figure out how to make it so he didn't get excited. So for anybody wondering, he is a soft-coated Wheaten Terrier. They are predisposed to a kidney problem, which is called PLN, protein-losing nephropathy. He has it. We did not know. We did not know he was predisposed to it. and he basically was peeing out all these proteins. One protein dogs have is it's a clot busting enzyme. So when he was peeing out all of these proteins, he was losing that type of protein, and he formed blood clots, and he had a massive one lodged in his pulmonary artery. That's the artery between the dog's lung and heart. And every time he got excited, his blood pressure rose, which is a normal reaction. But to protect him, his body went into save mode, and so he would faint to protect his blood pressure from getting too high. His blood pressure at its highest was, I don't know, like 240 over, God, I don't even remember, 100 and something. It was astronomical. Like, we were at the vet every day. Finally got this figured out, went to a doggy cardiologist, finally figured out that he needed to be on blood thinners, Plavix, to prevent blood clots, but they can't break up the blood clot like they can in humans because they don't know of a therapeutic dose yet. So they couldn't give him a clot buster. So what we needed to do was we needed to get his protein under control and get on medications to hopefully dissolve or prevent future clots, but see if his body could build back up the proteins and break up that clot. So we saw doggy cardiologist in September, and then we saw him again in March. By March, so 6 months later, the clot was gone. His blood pressure was trending downward. It still wasn't perfect yet. Probably still isn't perfect, but he's on all sorts of medications, lifelong medications, brought it all down. But the biggest thing was we needed to make a diet change. We needed to bring down his protein, and nobody could tell us how to do that. So the vet was like, no, that's not my job. The specialty vet said, no, that's not my job. You need to talk to a nutritionist. The nutritionist wouldn't talk to us. And so, you know what I did with my science background? We Googled, actually, no, we went on PubMed and we looked for vet research articles on how much protein for a low protein diet. And I literally did the math. How much protein should he be having at his weight? And I did the math. And then I figured out, okay, how much protein is in ground chicken, how much protein is in his half cup of kibble, how much protein is in his wet food, how much protein is in vegetables, and so on and so forth. And he gets a concoction. He gets a tablespoon of ground chicken. He gets a quarter cup of cooked white rice. He gets a quarter cup of frozen peas and carrots. He gets a half cup of a kidney diet kibble, and he gets about a quarter cup of a wet food concoction. It's disgusting. And he loves it. He cannot wait for breakfast and dinner. And I don't remember why I started this story. This is what happens when I go off on a tangent. But, because I walk him every day and I'd rather have him walk. I made the decision that when we took this route, I said, these walks are going to be his. And he's going to get what he wants. So he gets a sniffari every day where he can sniff every blade of grass, every cactus. Yes, he will sniff a cactus and get poked by it. And it's his time. And it takes us 30 minutes to go a quarter of a mile. And every bit of it is for him. And then my workout happens afterward. But I change and I get ready and I do my workout after his walk, something that I'm going to do every day for him. And that's how I keep consistent with it. But the other way to keep consistent with it is to follow a structured plan that does not go too big. It's not to go big or go home. It's what can I realistically commit to every week to stay successful? If you're going from 0, I recommend doing every other day. So do 3 days a week of something. Just get in the habit of doing something. The best one is just walking. I'm going to go for a 10-minute walk 3 days this week. When you do that consistently for a week, next week I'm going to go for a walk for 11 minutes, 3 days. Now, you may be thinking, 10 and 11 minutes, what a waste. I promise you, it is not a waste. It is building the consistency of the act of doing it. If you automatically, think about it this way. If you go out and say, I'm going to run 5 miles 5 days a week, but you take 15 minutes per mile, that's a long time to ask yourself to be out there, right? That's an hour and 15 minutes, 3 days a week from going from doing practically zero. But 5 miles may seem quote unquote worth it, or an hour may seem quote unquote worth it. The problem is it's too much and you end up exhausting yourself, or you look at it and you say, I don't have an hour today. I just don't have an hour. Start slower, start lower, start less. 10 minutes, then 11 minutes, then 12 minutes. And don't do 10 minutes, then 20 minutes, then 30 minutes. Too much. And then once you can be consistent with 3 days a week for probably a month to 6 weeks, then it's time to consider 4 days a week. I'd say 4 days of activity is the minimum for planning on doing a half marathon. And it's not 4 days of running. So if you follow any of my training plans, I have 2 short running days. Those are your speed work. That's for people who want to work on speed, need to work on speed, and then 1 long run. And then 2 cross training days and 2 rest days. So 5 days of exercise is ideal, but it's not the bare minimum. I recommend 4 days of activity. If you can get that 5th day in, great. If you're training for something like dopey, every once in a while you might need a sixth day. And those are dopey sim weekends, and those don't come for a while. But building up consistency, you have to have a very honest conversation with yourself. What can I realistically do? And how many days a week can I realistically do it? Because if you start too much and you can't stay consistent with it, you're going to be upset with yourself. And then you're going to do nothing. Or it's going to feel hard because you try and go, as an example, 5 miles 3 days a week because some Joe Schmo on the internet told you, well, you need 15 miles minimum weekly running. Why? Why? Why do you need that? You don't, especially not in the beginning. But 5 miles at a 15, 16, 17 minute per mile pace, I can't commit to 90 minutes, 3, 4, 5 days a week. I can commit to 90 minutes of stretching and a 90-minute hot Epsom salt bath. But 90 minutes of running that many days a week, I just can't commit to it. I can commit to 90 plus for 1 day a week. That's the long run. And then 45 to 60 minutes for my speed workouts, plus some stretching, plus some strength. Now, the whole workout may end up being 90 minutes, but that's not 90 minutes of running, plus all of those other things. But maybe you can commit to 90 minutes of running, and you want to commit to 90 minutes of running. The majority of the people listening to this podcast, or in my Instagram audience, or in my Stronger, Faster Finisher program, they don't have that time to commit. They have like an hour a couple of days a week. So that's why I recommend 45 minutes or 60-minute speed workouts. And I only recommend the 60-minute speed workouts for the people who have already done the mileage and who are working specifically on getting faster for the next year. If we're talking about just finishing, which is an absolute wonderful goal, 45 minutes of speed work, heck, 30 minutes of speed work. What can you commit to? And be honest with yourself. You know, many runners say, well, I wish I had more motivation. I don't know who has motivation every single day for every single thing. We need to be motivated to cook dinner and breakfast and drive our kids to school. Well, not my kids. I don't have kids. But drive my husband to things and, like I said, make dinner and exercise and clean the house and do this and do that. We can't have motivation for it all, and we certainly can't have motivation for it every single day. So what are small habits? Again, read Atomic Habits. What are small habits we can have where it just happens automatically so that we can stay consistent? So figuring out some of those habits and making it doable, realistically doable. In the physical therapy clinic, I'm not in a physical therapy clinic anymore, but I worked with so many people who didn't want to be there, and I don't blame them. People used to joke around that PT stood for pain and torture, and people hated it. Nobody wanted to come, but they wanted the end result. But I would have an honest conversation with people. What can you realistically, or what are you willing to realistically do? And people, thank goodness some people were honest with me. And, I get it. A lot of people weren't honest with me because they were embarrassed. They know they should exercise and should want to exercise, but realistically, not everybody does. And so some people would just be like, oh, no, 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 I can do an hour of exercise a day. And I'm like, rein it in. Let's start with 3 exercises at home. What? 3? That's going to take like 5 minutes. And I'm like, yeah, these are the 3 basic exercises that if you do nothing else different, you will at least get closer to your goal. And then we'll do the bigger stuff when you're in the clinic. It was also one of the biggest reasons I hated the fact that insurance stops paying when pain was gone or if you were doing the same exercises for people in the clinic as they could do on their own at home. It's a Medicare stipulation. I forget the exact wording in Medicare's rules, but it's something along the lines of it has to be skilled physical therapy and need the skills and like decision making of a physical therapist. If a personal trainer could do it with them, or if they could do it on their own, or if a family member could guide them through it, we're not paying anymore. And it drove me nuts because the act of coming to physical therapy for 45 minutes to an hour made them do that 2 to 3 times a week. So even if they can do this exercise at home, they're not, for whatever reason. Most of the time, people forget, not because they don't want the end result, but something else came up that was more of a priority in the moment. And you might think, well, wouldn't rehabbing a knee replacement be a big priority? Sure. For some people, it would slip through. And it used to drive me crazy. But what can we realistically do? So for, my knee replacement people, I used to say every time you get up from a chair, get up 3 times. So you get up, you sit down, you get up, you sit down, you get up. You've done 3 squats in that time. How many times a day does a typical person who's at the age of needing knee replacement, how many times a day does that person get up to pee? Right? Like, let's think about that. Realistically, they're getting up like every hour. So now we've done 3 squats every hour. Wonderful. Love it. Love it. Now, we can't do that with running. We can't say every time you get up, go run a couple of minutes. But how can we get this associated with something else that you already have to do? Do you have to walk the dog? Do you have to drive the kids to school? Do you get to drive the kids to school? Do you get to walk the dog? Well, now you also get to go for a walk or go for a run, right? When you get home from dropping the kids off from school, can you do a 30-minute run then? 30 minutes. And then plan out one day on the weekend or one day where somebody else can watch the kids for 3 hours. Can you do that as your long run and make it immediately after something? I don't go to church, but maybe you go to church. Maybe when you come home from church, you go for that long run. Or maybe you all have a family dinner on Sunday nights. Well, maybe you do a crock pot meal, and as soon as you put that crock pot meal in and turn it on, now you go for your 3-hour run. Because the food's cooking. It can sit there. It can warm for 8 hours after. Right? I'm not saying these are exact scenarios in your house, but what is a scenario in your house where you can finagle it so that you can get the workout in and it just be part of your day? This is the best way to stay consistent. Match it up with something that's already going to be happening. It does involve a hard conversation with your family, and it does involve a hard conversation with yourself of what can you realistically do. So, how can you stay consistent with training for these Run Disney races when you have to train for them so far in advance and you sign up for them before you're actually trained? Work it into your daily activity a couple of days a week. So, I said daily activity, but only a couple of days a week. What's the term for that? Let's just a couple of days a week. What is something you can do? And then incorporate one long run. Plan out that you'll need the longest time that you'll need. So if you think that your half marathon is going to take you the whole time, 3.5 hours, plan out that you need 3.5 hours on Sundays to run that long run. Even if you don't take the 3.5 every time, it's blocked out on the calendar. This is the best way that I've found to be consistent and how to get my clients to stay consistent. If you have any questions, send me a message over on Instagram, runDisneyDPT.
Please take what you've learned in this episode and use it to adjust your strategy for your Run Disney race training. It's not about doing more. It's about doing the right things in the right balance so you can finish strong, not broken. And if you want personalized guidance specific to your race, your injury history, your running background, and your goals, that's exactly what we do inside Stronger, Faster, Finisher. You'll get step-by-step instructions and a proven system to help you train smarter from start to finish. Join the waitlist today to be the first to know when it opens next. That's all for now. Talk to you soon.